want to start by saying congratulations on being inducted as a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Thank you.
So why was becoming a Zeta a perfect fit for you?
They have a history of just incredible work, especially in healthcare and looking after the health of our community. So that was a natural fit for me. I just love the spirit of the sisterhood and the spirit of the sisters that I've met, even up to, before becoming inducted. Down to earth, roll your sleeves up, get work done. And I was very honored. It didn't hurt too that Zora Neale Hurston was a Zeta.
Didn't hurt, not at all.
It's like one of my favorite authors.
Exactly, mine too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned sisterhood. So what does sisterhood mean to you, and how has it shaped your life?
Sisterhood, I love the company of women. I really do, which is super funny because I live in a house full of a man and boys, and I'm the only woman there, and I love them too. But I grew up with sisters. My mom has many sisters. I have aunties. My grandmother has many sisters. So women have a way of supporting and caring for one another. That's really important to me. It's kind of like lifeblood to me. I can't go too long without it. So, sisterhood is like air. I'm not like over exaggerating it.
No, I agree. I'm the youngest of 4. I have 3 older sisters.
Yeah.
And my dad, poor guy, he was the only guy growing up. And I remember
my dad.
Yeah, we purchased a dog. And of course, her name was Sparkle. And my dad said, "Come on, the dog has to be a girl too." So yes, it's important around here. Okay.
And there's also there's such incredible power in sisterhood, and that special way that we do our work and that we do our work together. It's incredible.
It is. It's very powerful, inspiring to your point earlier, empowering, you name it. And I'm going to quickly switch gears. Now, you've been acting since you were 4 years old. What lessons from your early years stayed with you?
Probably I was acting. I'm from New York, so I was, going to casting sessions with my mom, like in New York City, up and down, taking the subway, taking the train from Long Island where we live. Just hard work probably is the and sustained effort. And I don't want to say hard work but yeah, actually pounding the pavement, not taking no for an answer. That is something that I've kept with me. It's been one of the greatest lessons. And then also, I really had the lesson of being a storyteller at a young age and being a part of storytelling. And I love that. I'm passionate about kind of the science of storytelling. Why people feel what they feel when they watch something or read something or interact with something, and the stories that we can tell and provide, and the influence that it has, the cultural influence, and emotional change we can create.
Thank you for bringing that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it in that framework. Especially when you're dreaming of me. Connecting.
Yes. Even Baby Yams, the company that I just started, and that venture, that is very much storytelling. It's storytelling through textile. It's just another medium. But hoping to kind of infuse joy, heritage, sense of history, pride. Being able to say who you are, wherever you are, when you have that baby blanket with you. That's storytelling is a big component of that. Who it's serving and why.
For sure. And speaking of Baby Yams, let's jump into it. I know on your website you stated in some interviews you had a life-threatening delivery of your first baby.
shared it actually this morning. I was on one of the first panels today at the caucus. And so I can't thank Representative Underwood and Representative Adams enough for just inviting me. I experienced obstetric violence at a hospital in LA during my first birth, and I was held down by multiple people. I was, I guess you could say physically assaulted. I've never used that term before, but yeah, a doctor put his, rammed his forearm into the top of my belly. My son was drowned, and they pushed him back inside me. And he ended up spending 4 days in the NICU because of that. And when my husband and I left that hospital, we actually left in the middle of the night at the very sign that our son was okay, and we left in the dead of night as fast as we could before anything else happened. And so, I didn't really have the language for this, the language that belongs to this movement, or maternal care, Black maternal health crisis. I didn't have that language. So it was about a year before, maybe a little over a year before I actually started to even share my story. I didn't even realize, where my story fit. So it's informed so much of my work since then, because I think it's just, I've lived my life in the art, so I'm always I'm always trying to have things since I was a kid, trying to express the things in my spirit, and this is something that, I don't know any other way. I have to express it. So, but emotionally, and as I share this story, I also find that, I often come across, there are always many people in the audience who've experienced the same thing, or similar things, or have stories of their own. And so, and there's a trauma there, even now when I speak to you, there's a tremor in my voice. I can't help it. But you decide what you're going to do with what God gives you and the experiences that you have. And the thing I've decided to do, I'm very grateful that I have my life, that I have the life of my 2 boys. But what I'm doing with what happens to us is making sure that it doesn't happen to anybody else. I'm trying my best.
Wow, thank you for sharing that and being totally transparent with that.
Mm-hmm.
What tools and resources did you use to kind of help you navigate the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs and the emotional roller coaster, and like you said, just the trauma behind it?
Therapy is an amazing resource. Prayer, this work, actually vocalizing it, not just keeping it internal, internalizing that pain or shame or what did I do wrong or what. Giving it voice. What else? Working with a midwife, a Black midwife, Black midwife, Michelle Lawler for my second birthing experience and my second pregnancy. Going through that process with her was very, very hard. And making these life is a huge part of my healing journey. I can't even tell you the joy it gives me.
Can you tell us about the role of your midwife played in your care and how the support is different from your previous experience?
Oh, yeah, the support is comprehensive. She treated me as a whole person. My meetings with her were not 15 minutes long or 10 minutes long. They were sometimes hours long. She answered every question. I was given every single choice. She asked before she touched me, every time she touched me, is it okay? Not having, a vaginal examination every single time I went to her. Every time I went to my OBGYN, I had a vaginal examination. That didn't happen at all with my midwife. There was no need. I had a healthy pregnancy. She literally was like, that's not necessary. I remember being like, wait, I don't have to do this thing. No. So, there was nothing about my pregnancy that made that necessary. Just personalized, culturally attuned care. She she knew my needs and she knew the needs of my family. Postpartum care, real postpartum care, was a part of it and is so essential for us. Just a world apart, a world apart.
For those who don't know, what is a midwife?
Mid-
Let's define what midwife is.
yeah, midwives are licensed professionals who can see. Some are there are midwives that work in hospitals. There are many midwives. The type of midwife I'm talking about works outside of hospitals. Some midwives work in birth centers. Some midwives work home births, do home births and work with you at home. And they are licensed, educated professionals in pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum period. Some are also lactate. Some also have expertise in lactation. Most do. It is the way, especially for the Black community and the Indigenous community, it is the way we used to do things before. There's a whole history of Black midwifery and how Black midwives were sort of licensed out and actually criminalized for doing the work. And the outcomes then weren't what they were. The outcomes are worse.
The outcomes are worse. I had a friend years ago, and I remember she was pregnant, and she was talking about being a doula and a midwife. And I'm so conditioned, I don't have kids, but I've just been so conditioned throughout the years. Because I'm like, girl, why would you go pregnant with a C-section? Because I'm like, I just thought that was the only option. If you don't have a natural birth, get a C-section. I didn't think twice about it. She's like, no, and she started educating me on other alternatives and different options, and just like, no, don't let them tell you, okay, we're scheduling your baby at this time, come here and you'll be done. She was like, for everything, for home birth, for having a midwife and a doula. And just like, I was just like, girl, you're doing a lot. And then
after my emergency C-section, during my first birth, afterwards, during one of my postpartum visits, which was very short, I think there were only like 2, my OBGYN informed me, okay, well now you can only be pregnant about 4 times. So there are all sorts of things, there are all sorts of complications that happen with C-section. Sometimes C-sections happen, right? Babies come when they come, but we should be cared for properly. We should be cared for in a safe environment, and we should be cared for by people who do not have bias against us.
And I want to talk about the symbolism of quilting with the quilt fabric.
Yeah.
How do you see the act of quilting as a metaphor for community and collective support?
Well, because everybody brings their pieces. Everybody brings their pieces, and you make you make something together that is used as a covering. So that's what it means to me. I made the prototype, I would call it, for these blankets when I was waiting for my second baby to be born and working with my midwife. I had visited a mom group and I had shared my story, and they gave me a beautiful gift basket. And instead of a basket, it was the Sankara fabric. And I took that fabric. I wanted to commemorate just how empowered I was feeling in my hopes and my dreams for my baby. And my husband and I wrote blessings in it. And I made a quilt out of it because I didn't have a lot of it. So I had to kind of put it with other cottons and other fabrics, which is how I make these, or how these are made. And yeah, if people who quilt makers use any kind of fabric. It can be the fabric from your grandma's nightgown, and it's just a beautiful art form. It can mean it just has tons of meaning, and there's something about fabric and textile, something that touch, feel, and use that just has a different quality to the message that's being expressed and being transferred.
And I feel like this is and to the point, just in terms of you can get your